In this clip, we discuss how external events like COVID led to changes that affected Google business profiles and local services ads. We examine how Google and the federal government are working to avoid fake and misleading reviews. If you want to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
So now we're going to go to the Google business profile and LSAs and reviews.
So this brings us to the next thing we want to cover, which is Google business profiles, local services ads, and reviews, because there's been quite a few changes in the last couple of years that Google's made, mainly because of COVID, and they've been making some exceptions, giving more flexibility to folks. And we're coming out of COVID right now, and they're going to be sort of undoing some of these permissions they gave to people to do a lot more sort of meetings virtually. In addition, we're seeing quite a bit of sort of action now coming from the federal government in terms of how they're looking at platforms that have listings and reviews. So first, here's the page that Anna showed earlier. This right at the very top, these are the local services ads. Of course, a little bit lower is the Google local and map results. The key thing here is that the local services ads, for the most part, are pulling their data from the Google business profiles. So there's a real connection between these two, both in terms of the information, the reviews, and quite a bit of other sort of contact and editorial information. So this is the part we're going to focus on, and we're going to focus on three things that we've seen that going on with Google, where we've seen again some permissions and some flexibility they've given folks, and some issues that they faced. One will be multiple locations. So many folks have had either virtual offices or shared locations, and for during the COVID times, Google's been pretty flexible in allowing people to have offices where they're not really necessarily meeting people in person. The other one is the names of the businesses or the names of the law firms. And I think most lawyers and most others who've ever done a search on Google Local have seen a lot of keyword spam in there, lots of keywords in there. It doesn't mean it can't be done, but there's some cleanup that we expect to have Google come through and do again. And the third one is reviews, and the reviews is a huge issue with some reviews which may or may not be real, and also some movement that we're seeing coming in from the federal government in terms of examining reviews more in the future. So let's run through these three things, and I'll give a few examples. So first, multiple locations. So here we have the locations for car accident lawyer Daniel Kim. So he has quite a few locations in California, and some of these appear to be sort of joint working spaces. Again, Google's not totally against that. You certainly can have it, and they've been pretty flexible during COVID, but he has quite a few on there. This is his website, which you can see. So this is car accident lawyer Daniel Kim up there in the corner, as well as a picture of inside his website for the offices of Daniel Kim, which actually is the name of his other office, which is down in Costa Mesa, which one of his core office, which is the law office of Daniel Kim. So that one actually matches up with the internal screenshot. But he does have car accident lawyer Daniel Kim at the top. What Google has said on their official rules is that if you have a co-working space and you're going to use that as an office on Google business profiles, it needs to be staffed by your folks, and they need to be answering people during office hours. Again, Google's been pretty flexible about that, and there hasn't been a lot of enforcement the last few years. So we'll sort of see what happens there. Our expectation, though, is that a lot of these office sharing arrangements and some of these virtual offices will start disappearing from the Google business profiles. So unless you have real staff there, your office might disappear. So again, it's not what Google wants, and they've got the rules right there. You can go ahead and read it. The other thing that's happening when you have many office locations, and there's slightly different flexibility between Google business profiles and LSAs, but sometimes these multiple locations will show up in the sort of 3-pack for the local service ads at the very top. And here's an example in Bakersfield where car accident lawyer Daniel Kim is showing up twice in those 3-pack. So I know that Google has said that they want different law firms showing in the 3-pack, but multiple locations, sometimes they're seen as different law firms, and sometimes you will show up multiple times. So that's another thing that we've seen going on here from having multiple office locations. All right, so multiple office locations, if they're fully staffed, no big deal. If they're work-only offices, there might be some issues in the future. Google's trying to cut down on those. But if you do have staff there and they're meeting with clients, you should be okay there as well. Business names. Business names is sort of a bigger thing that we see with Google, and I think everyone sort of sees different keywords showing up in the business names here in the Google search results. But let's take a couple, look at a couple examples, and I'll sort of explain what's sort of going on here. So example here I'll use again is car accident lawyer Daniel Kim. That's keywords, car accident lawyer, right? Those are good keywords to have. And he has, again, his other office, which is the law office of Daniel Kim, which is his main office in Costa Mesa. I'm going to do a search here on car accident lawyer in Los Angeles. So if I do that in Google, I will see that the first person showing up here is car accident lawyer Daniel Kim. And in fact, he's about maybe a mile or two out of Koreatown. He also has his name, car accident lawyer Daniel Kim, in Korean as well, here attached to this particular location. But he's ranking at the very top. And so one of the things that you see with Google in terms of the rankings on the Google Maps for these Google business profiles is that when someone puts a search term, they're sort of doing two separate searches. One search they're doing is they're trying to find people whose name matches the search term. So this time I put, I had a car accident lawyer here as the beginning part of my search. So that's a name search, and it's a name search match. The second part is they're also, when the search involves services, they're also doing a service match. So if it's a service search and you have a name that ties into that service or ties into that location as well, you might come in by way of the name search, and as you're getting merged in with those, they're just doing the service. And most of the time when you have a name search that matches up with the service search, you actually also do that service. So it's actually the reason people name it is it gives them like one more chance to show up in the top 3. And so that's kind of what's happening right here. He's got the keywords in his name. He's showing up first for it. If it was not car accident lawyer Daniel Kim, if it was some other name, it's not obvious that he would be showing up in the top 3 here. I mean, Los Angeles is extremely competitive. I mean, it's got a lot of reviews, but the other guys have more reviews than he does. So it's just something to note on this in terms of how Google's merging these results and the reason why a lot of people are adding keywords to their names. Our expectation is that over time, Google will change this algorithm so that if someone's doing a search terms that are a service-based search or a location service-based search, they will not actually go look at names. So if your name has those terms, you're not going to get any credit for that in your name. They're just going to do the service search. And you can still have the name that you want to have, but you got to compete with everyone that does car accident laws in LA. So you're not going to get any extra credit there. But then again, we've been waiting for this change for a while. It hasn't happened quite yet. When it does happen, I think we'll see a large reduction in terms of the number of people using extra keywords in their names. So here's what Google says the rules are. And if you go here, their basic rules is that you're supposed to use the name that you use in the real world. And if you're not using that name in the real world, you shouldn't be adding extraneous terms, whether those are extraneous services or extraneous locations. So they give a few examples here. Midas Auto Experts should just be Midas, right? Or they have not a perfect example here because they have Holiday Inn, near an exit, but they say you should use Holiday Inn Salem, which kind of is using the location that they sort of said that you weren't supposed to be using, but not exactly sure. Maybe it's called Holiday Inn Salem. If it's not, it should probably just be Holiday Inn according to their own rules. But anyways, you get the idea. They really want you not to add additional terms there. That doesn't mean you can't do it if that's your actual name, though. I want to give you one more example here from Los Angeles, which is really sort of ground zero for added keywords into names. And this is Los Angeles criminal lawyer. And if I look here, I see 3 results. So I have Monsorry Law Group, Los Angeles criminal lawyer. I have the Rodriguez Law Group, Los Angeles criminal lawyer. And then I have a law firm whose actual name is Los Angeles criminal defense lawyer. So here's an example where, they said, I'm not even going to bring in any other terms. I'm just going to go pure key terms, and they're showing up right here in terms of the search results. So is this allowed? What's Google's sort of rules on it? I mean, they're trying to cut this out. Periodically, you'll see they'll go through and they'll suddenly clean up lots of different profiles. Sometimes they'll disable them. But at its core right now, this stuff works. And it's been the case where for the most part, a lot of people have taken advantage of the fact that this matching is in place, and have many times actually changed the name of their firm. So if you want to add keywords to your firm name, these are the steps that you need to do to really do it properly, so you don't have an issue with Google. And even then, you might still get flagged by Google, but at least you can get back in there right away. The first thing is just you should probably change the legal name of your business, or you should at least do a DBA. So doing business as, and file it with a county or a state, depending what your particular locality's filing requirements are. So at least you have a legal right to use that name, and you can use it in sort of business transactions. So that's one item. Second item is you should change your signage. And this is probably the biggest one for Google. You should have your outside signage have these words in it. Or if you're in a large office building, that should be on the kiosk. So if you really want to change the name of your law firm to Los Angeles Criminal Defense Lawyer, that's fine. You can go ahead and do it, but add a sign outside your office that says that. Or if someone comes into the kiosk, it should say Los Angeles Criminal Defense Lawyer right there. So that's important. The other items is to use it on your marketing. That's like your letterhead, your business cards, different items like that. And you should be using it when you do filings with courts. If you're litigating, you're doing different filings, you should use that as your name, the official name as your firm as well. Some states like California, very flexible in terms of what you can use for names. So you could certainly have a law firm name, Los Angeles Criminal Defense Lawyer in the state of California. That could be possible. But the main thing here is that you want to obey Google's rules, so that you don't get flagged and have your listing disabled. And if it does get disabled, because people, I'm sure, are trying to change these names and disable them all the time, you could go back to Google and you can sort of say, look, this is my real name, this is my signage, take a look at it. And then the final thing I would say is that your website should also have the name. And if you remember, we looked at car accident lawyer Daniel Kim. That was the heading of his website. He had it right there. He also had it in his copyright statement. So he was actually on the website part sort of matching up his name quite well. So it's doable. It's something that works right now, but it does require you to really change how you're branding yourself within the community. And you need to really think that part through. Or you could use your other name and add some keywords at the end. But again, go through the steps. Big thing, signage. But I'd also do the DBA at least. And I would change my stationery and my business cards to match up. So there's no question at all that this is the name of your law firm. And if Google changes things later, maybe you change it later. But for right now, it's something to think about. Reviews. So, all right, we did locations. They'll probably get cleaned up at some point. The names, for some people, it get cleaned up, but there are ways to actually use keywords in your names if you want to. Reviews are something that if you go to Google Business Profiles, you're going to see lots of different issues going on. So first, let's talk a little bit about how Google ranks things in the Google Business Profiles and in the Google Local and Maps. So there's different things here. First is relevance, right? That's how much you fill out your profile. You got to fully fill out your profile. I'll bring that up one more time at the very end here. There's the distance, how close you are to, what's your location, how close you are to the person searching. If I'm searching Los Angeles from the Bay Area, it's giving me Los Angeles as a whole. But if I'm in Los Angeles, it's basically, the Google algorithm is basically treating law firms as though they're dry cleaners or gas stations. So locality distance starts to matter a lot when you're actually in the city. So that's something else to note there. The third one is prominence. And it might just be because you're really well known, right? Like Johnny Cochran back in the day, his criminal defense in LA. But there's also a few other things that they look there for it. And one is reviews, that your Google review count and your Google review score. And the other one is your position in the web search results. So first, let me just quickly talk about this because this is what we're going to focus on right now. Your Google review count is how many reviews you have. The score is sort of your score on a scale of 0 to 5. The numbers that you want to hit is 40 reviews. Try to get to 40 and try to make sure that you have an average review score of 4.5. All right, those are the two numbers you want to hit. You want to get real reviews. So try to make sure the reviews are real, and do make sure they're real, at least the people that you contact, and try to get people to write real sort of longer reviews. So the reviews should be, a few paragraphs, not just one sentence. All right. One sentence ones get discounted out, not just potentially by Google, because they look at it as very weak reviews, more likely to be pulled, but also by people looking to read reviews. If you've ever gone to a review site and you see one that's a sentence that says, "My lawyer was great," that doesn't mean much. Sort of, it should be a little bit longer in terms of the contents is there, and really sort of explain the legal issue that the attorney helped solve for you. Just a much more valuable review. So those are items to note. They should be real. Should contact real people. Hopefully, people that are going to give you a high scores, and also try to get folks to write real reviews. The other things that Google looks at in terms of whether they keep reviews up and they don't disappear is how old the Google account is. So if it's an older account, maybe they're using it for YouTube or for Gmail, those reviews tend to be a bit more sticky. If it's a brand new account that was just made to give the review, not as good. So those things get pulled quite a bit more. So something else to note. And I would not have all the reviews done in my office. If they see all the reviews coming from one IP address, obviously more likely to be flagged. They start thinking the law firms doing the reviews themselves. So people should do the reviews from their home, or at least not on the local network. Maybe they can use their phone or something, but you've really, you face issues if all your reviews are coming from the office that's being reviewed. That kind of makes sense. Much more likely to be flagged and either have account issues or certainly have reviews removed. So those are the things about reviews, but the key thing is they should be real, and you should try to get to 40, and 4.5 is like a magic cutoff to sort of show up higher. It's an important number to hit. The other thing is the web search results. People often ask, do the Google local positions help you with your organic web search results, or do the organic web search results help you with your organic positions? The answer is the organic web search results will help you with your ranking in terms of the maps. So your website should be really, really good. You should have your URL to your website, right, in your Google business profile. Make sure it's there. On your website itself, you should have the schema markup with your location, address, name, address, phone number. It should match exactly what's in your Google business profile. So those two can get connected. And your content should be really good, so it ranks higher. And then you'll start getting picked up for all the different sort of terms and stuff there on your entire website. So it actually helps it helps you for more than just the basic search, criminal lawyer or personal injury lawyer. It might help you for dog bite lawyer, all different types of items that you might have a page for. So organic SEO really matters in terms of the Google Maps rankings, especially for some of the longer tail ones. Very, very important on that. Okay, let's sort of go look through reviews, and I'll just show a couple different examples here. We'll use car accident lawyer Daniel Kim again. If you look here, you'll see that all his offices have a decent number of reviews. So he's got 110. He has, a few hundred, another 100. All of them have at least 100 reviews. And then his main office has 515 reviews. So a lot of reviews. One of the things that Google wants is that reviews should be for an office, should be for the work that's done in that office. Now, that might be a little bit hard if a lawyer is working in multiple offices. Which one do they do, especially if it was done over video? I mean, I get that part, during COVID, but it's something to note. That's one of the things they look for. So it could be that, Daniel has people in these different offices. That's where they serve the people. That's possible. It could be that, he had a lot more people in Los Angeles, but maybe they wrote reviews for other offices. I really don't know on that part, but what Google would like is for the reviews to be for the office in particular. I'm going to give you one more example, which is probably a little bit slightly more obvious. I mean, that's all in California. I mean, all those, you could drive to any of those offices, easily within a few hours from anywhere in Southern California. So here's Morgan & Morgan. This is their Denver office. And I just wanted to sort of show you a couple things on here. So I'm going to go look at the reviews for Morgan & Morgan. And, I'm going here, and they have some reviews here. These later ones aren't quite as good, but I just went down and I looked for a place where someone had given many reviews, and they also had given a decent review for Morgan & Morgan. So in this case, he got a 4-star review from Tiffany, which, it's not a 5-star review. So it's sort of indicates that, might be, real person giving it, because it was totally fake, it would be 5-star, right? I mean, that's normally the way to go. But it's a very short review. My lawyer, Lindsay, was awesome, right? Not much there. But I wanted to see, where did Tiffany also give reviews from? Because she's given out 5 reviews here, and I click here. Well, most of Tiffany's reviews are for Florida, right? They're down here in Southeast Florida. And, one looks like in Atlanta, and then she got legal services from Morgan & Morgan in Denver. Okay. Now, she might have got legal services from Morgan & Morgan. I'm not quite sure it's in the Denver office, though. So sometimes you see reviews showing up in the wrong office, and whether that's because the individual made a mistake and went to the wrong office, or maybe they were given a link with a bunch of Morgan & Morgan offices and they clicked the wrong one. That could be possible. Or it could be that, they were asked to write a review for the Denver office, or maybe the attorney that they worked with moved to Denver, right? That's also possible. And they were trying to write about their attorney. Or they're actually in Denver when they needed legal services, right? That's also possible. But in this case, Tiffany wrote it for the Denver office of Morgan & Morgan, and she's down in South Florida. Okay, I just kept scrolling down. I'm just picking the first 3 here. I just found the next one, multiple reviews, and but giving 5 stars, and just want to take a look at the location where they're at. So this is Charlene. Here are her reviews, and her reviews are also primarily in Florida. All right. So also mostly Florida reviews, one in Las Vegas, and legal services at Morgan & Morgan. So again, might be a real client, possible. Work with Denver office, maybe less likely. All right. And let me just do one more. This is Raul. Same thing, 5-star review. This is the lawyer was exceptionally clear and concise with her questions and explanations. Okay, that's very short review. All these reviews are very, very short. You can sort of see that if you read these reviews as a potential client, you might go, this is not a lot of review here. You'd like something a little bit longer to look at. But let's take a look where Raul was, and Raul's other reviews primarily in Florida, which again is where Morgan & Morgan's main offices are. So, it could be that Morgan & Morgan just has a page and says, please write us reviews for us. Thank you for your service. And they picked the wrong office. That's certainly possible. But one of the things that you would normally see by Google when they're looking through this, when they see someone that's written a bunch of reviews, and there's one review outside it, especially for something like legal services, unless there's something sometimes within the review that indicates they were actually in Denver for it, it's more likely to get flagged and more likely to be discounted out. So my guess, Morgan & Morgan probably has a higher risk of having these reviews removed by Google, just because the people themselves seem so far out of the area, and legal services for the most part tends to be a local type service. It's something that can occur sometimes, especially if it's looks like it's an ongoing pattern, which does a little bit here. But again, they might all be clients. They might have all been serviced in Denver. It's quite possible. It's, people do go different places to receive service, and Morgan & Morgan certainly is good about asking folks to get reviews onto Google business profiles. All right, so what's coming up with reviews? So we saw some reviews here, and we saw some different examples. Certainly, folks have lots of them. The biggest thing that's coming out right now is the FTC right now is making an effort to look into reviews, and they're going to come out with some new regulations and some civil penalties for those who put up fake positive reviews. Now, this is primarily, and we have our own directory, right? We have people submit reviews. And when we do some checking, we have our own criteria, which is secret, which I'm not going to tell you, but we do check with people to see if they're real. And lots of fake reviews come in. I mean, that's certainly the case everywhere, or at least reviews that cannot be confirmed that any legal services were provided for. But the big thing here is that this is an issue everywhere on the internet for reviews. It's an issue on Google, Google Maps, Google Business Profiles, Amazon, right? Software review sites like G2 and Capterra. Every place has these issues. Even Yelp has these issues, although Yelp is a little bit better because they mainly focus on people who actually use the Yelp app, so they have a better sense that the person's real. So the FTC is going to go through here. They're going to make some rules, and I can see that these rules will both have additional civil risk for different organizations or manufacturers that make products that have fake positive reviews, and also some restrictions or some more requirements on platforms that offer reviews. So they're going to just do a little bit double checking, because this has really sort of gotten out of hand. Exactly where this goes, I'm not quite sure. but it'll certainly, the penalties aren't going to go lower. So there's going to be something happening, sort of coming out of here. The other thing I would say though, for lawyers in particular, you have ethical guidelines. So if you're out there and you hire a marketing company or someone else that's putting up fake reviews for you, like I've seen people go from 50 reviews, which was so hard to get over a decade, and all of a sudden they have 500. And I'm pretty sure those are not real reviews that these ones popped up. And if you do something like that, and you're suddenly adding a bunch of fake reviews to your different profiles, you have a real risk of facing some sort of disciplinary action from your state bar or licensing organization. Sometimes the court systems or something. It's a real risk. It's a bigger risk for lawyers than it is for other businesses right now. So I would really try to get real reviews. You should be able to get 40 real reviews, get people to write real stuff about you, and try to get them to, hopefully they give you higher scores. And if you get a bad, fake reviews come in too, right? There's not a lot of checking of that either. If you get a bad score, you're going to need to get some more positive ones. You really want to try to stay above 4.5, but that's not getting 100 reviews or 1,000 reviews, right? Like some of these, I've seen solos, they have 2,000 or 3,000 reviews, and I go, I don't know if they've even seen that many clients. Doesn't seem, doesn't pass the smell test, as you know what I mean. But you really need to focus on quality ones. But the FTC, again, we'll be setting up some rules. I think for lawyers, the biggest impact here will be what changes does Google take to sort of help enforce some of these new sort of regs and stuff that the FTC puts on platforms. The other thing with Google is that Google will sue companies that are doing fake reviews. And I'm sure when they're doing discovery, they will also find out which places got fake reviews from those companies. So it's like, they need to put an end to it, but they will file lawsuits. So here's a case that happened recently where Google sued an organization that was guaranteeing first place results for the Google Maps, Google Business Profiles. And they were basically selling positive reviews. And they would also sell negative reviews that you could put on your competitor, right? And they also had a public web page that Google is easy to find, and Google sued them. And I'm sure Google's also going to get a list of their clients when they do this. So, you shouldn't be doing this. But even if, and this is egregious, they even had it public and made it really easy for Google. But even if your web provider doesn't have a public thing saying they sell reviews, if they're providing services with fake reviews, you really need to double think about that. Because it's at some point, Google finds out about it and they go to that marketer and say, you're going to give us all your client list that you did this for. That's another thing. And then it could get, you'd have issues with Google, you'd have issues with the state bar. This is a real risk. So you really got to focus on getting real reviews from real people. The good thing with Google is they don't mind you asking people for it, right? It's not like Yelp. Yelp doesn't even want you to ask somebody. But Google's fine with that. And Google's easily the most important place for law firms to get reviews. The final thing I'm going to mention on Google Business Profiles, and we're going to do a whole webinar on this, all right? So this is just a quick mention, is you got to fully fill out your profile. I would say that maybe 10% of law firms have their profiles fully filled out on the Google Business Profile platform. You need to add description text. You got to make sure you have your right services. You might want to add products, put your services in there. Those can also show up. Make sure you check all the boxes as in terms of being accessible for disabled people, different things like that. Do post, right? Put post up, keep current awareness going on the Google Business Profile. Make sure you have lots of pictures that are high quality, and make sure you have your logo one, your interior, your exterior of the building, people at work. Show pictures of your signage, right? That's always good, especially if you have keywords in your signage. You absolutely should be working in some photos there so you can quickly point to Google to it. And you can add short videos too, very short videos that are also nice to put up there. So very few law firms fully fill out their profiles. We will cover all this in a separate webinar. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but here's the thing about how to go to the Google Business Profile Help Center. Here's the thing about how to improve your local rankings. Number one, fill out your profile. So you need to do that. Number two, start getting reviews and get real reviews and get ones that are actually helpful to people.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this clip. And if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more law practice and legal marketing videos. See you in the next video.